Hey everyone, I thought I would just do a little garden tour here. It is November, the middle of November, and we have not had our first freeze yet, and so we've still got some stuff going on in the garden. And I was actually going to tear these calendula out, and I decided to leave them in, and they have just come back, and they're so beautiful. And I've just enjoyed watching them so much. They had gotten to where there was holes all in them, and they had a lot of bug damage, and like I said, it started raining and they've come back and they are so pretty. So this flower can be used, you can dry it and use it to make some salves and ointments and stuff, and it's really good for wound healing. And they have different colors. I used to have a pink one, and this is a orange and yellow variety. So this is some kale I have growing. I have started it at different increments, and this is just some little baby kale that's growing here, and then got some bigger ones that are growing. I had hoped to kind of give it to some of the animals over the winter, and it's growing along pretty good. So I think we're gonna be able to give it to them, and we like to make kale chips out of it, and sometimes I'll put it in like some stir fries with some meat and potatoes and vegetables and that sort of thing. So this is our row of basil, and I have just let it go to flower and seed, and we will probably have basil all over our garden next year. It's already reseeded in several places. This was the lettuce leaf basil. It's supposed to get really big. Mine never gets super big, but this was some lemon and lime basil, and it smells so good. This is a large leaf basil here, and so they're still growing. I'd harvest a bunch of it and dried it and put it in a jar, and we used it in some chicken a few weeks ago, and it was really good. Here is some more kale. This has been growing for a while now. This is, I believe it's the ragged jack or red Russian kale, and then this is just kind of your just basic kale here. And this is a purple basil. I think it's so pretty. This is some sage we've got growing here. Actually, when I put these in, I didn't know if they were going to grow because they were so small, and they've just really done well. We've got some cilantro here that reseeded itself and started growing when it cooled down. And then here we have some carrots. I have a hard time growing carrots here. So sometimes they'll grow and they'll do okay, but then they just have a real piney or woody taste to them, and they're not super great. So I'm interested to see if growing these over the winter how they'll do. These actually came up really well, so I've been trying to thin them out as they are getting bigger, and I'm just gonna let them grow and see how they do. So this is some peas growing. I had planted a couple rows and just a few of them came up. We had like some big rains right after I planted them, and so they just didn't do super good, but we've got a few plants here coming up, and the flowers on them are really pretty. This is a lime basil, and it is all going to seed. This is some basil that's reseeded itself here in the walkways. Our parsley is doing super great. This is a flat leaf parsley, and it's just gotten so big. It's doing really good. I don't remember what this was. I think it might be like a parsnip or beet or something. I had just thrown some seeds in there when I was doing some fall planting. So I thought this was really interesting. We tried to grow some pumpkins. They didn't do very good, and they had all died. You can see here where the vine has died. And this just came back on its own. So like I said, it's supposed to freeze next week, so we won't get pumpkins out of that. But it's been cool to kind of see it come back like that. Here is a rogue watermelon volunteer that kind of started growing again, so I've just kind of let it go. There is a cantaloupe vine, and then here is some potato plants. I actually just pulled these up and harvested the potatoes on these. We just got a few little small ones, but those will be super good. Another watermelon plant. And then over here we have our strawberry plants. So I had planted these kind of over there, and they did not grow well last fall. So I just moved them to the center of my garden and just kind of hoped they would start growing again. And they came back and they started multiplying this fall. And so I find it really good here to transplant them usually in November like this. Now, anytime you transplant something, you've got to make sure you water it, that sort of thing. That one's kind of coming out. But so I transplanted them right before it was getting ready to rain, and they're doing super well. They had multiplied greatly, and so I got about 111 plants. So I'm really excited for next year's strawberry harvest. I hope we get to make lots of jam. This is a smaller variety, and I had it in some raised beds and it was not doing well. So I'm hoping putting it over here will come back. I find that raised beds just don't hold the moisture as well, so you would have to water them a lot, and so I prefer having things in the ground that hold the moisture a little bit better. So super excited about these strawberries. They had been sending off lots of runners, and so I just broke them off and replanted them. And then I had tarped this whole area here, and so most of the grass was killed, and then I had cardboard, and I put that down and made holes and planted the strawberries in it and put in some homemade compost, and then I put the wood chips on top. So the wood chips and the cardboard will break down into the soil and feed it, and hopefully it'll just get better and better. When they were putting in our driveway, they started putting it in over here, and so there's kind of some gravel and stuff underneath it. So hopefully that won't hinder it too much, but just a little bit of an obstacle to overcome with this. And then here's our blueberries. We've been working on getting them mulched, and they're actually doing pretty good and coming back. We've had a strange year with water levels. It'll be really dry for a while, and then it'll rain, and then it'll be really dry again. So it's been interesting. And this one's got like a really big shoot on it, so hopefully we get lots of berries next year. It was not a good year for berries this year, and so I'm hoping that our soil keeps getting better and we get the right rain and that sort of thing, and so they start doing good. And this is some of my little raised beds I had put in. This is spearmint and oregano, and I really need to harvest that and dry some of it so we can use it. This was raspberry, and this potentially has died. I'm not really sure. Sometimes they'll look like they're dead, and then they will come back underneath there because I'll show you on this other one, raspberries go underneath the ground and come back up. And so we'll see. This was a white raspberry, and those are so good. We'd had those before, but so you can see here, we actually have some red raspberries on here. This plant does not look super good. I actually tried these and they weren't that great, so I'm not sure what's going on with that, but you can see that they've sent off shoots underground and they're coming back up here. So there will be raspberries everywhere. That is one thing about raspberries, is they go crazy and multiply. So I don't know if I'm probably gonna keep them in this area, but these little beds I made are getting a lot of weeds in them, so I'm gonna have to work on that. And this is where I had some of those other strawberries and I transplanted them. So this is another red raspberry, and I probably need to come in here and cut this back a little bit. And then the ants have gotten in here with this one. I've been trying to disturb them, but I need to put some stuff on them to get rid of them. And then this is a purple raspberry, so it's got some major thorns on it. I don't know if it's going to be worth dealing with just because of all the thorns. And it hasn't put off any fruit. Like usually they'll put off a little bit of fruit the first year, but this one hasn't, so we're just going to have to see how that goes. And it's getting the Bermuda grass coming up underneath it, even though I put lots of cardboard and stuff, so that's kind of a pain because it's really hard to get rid of. So we'll just kind of decide what we want to do with these raspberries. Probably in the spring, we'll see how it goes. We'll decide if we want to, which ones we want to keep and how we want to redo some of this area. So that's pretty much it for the fall garden. Like I said, we normally have a freeze by now, so I'm surprised it's lasted this long, and it's been really interesting and fun to watch. And so I'm excited to see how my kale and my carrots do over the winter. Usually the colder weather will actually make them sweeter and better. And I love to work in my garden during the winter because we have a lot of really nice days here. And so I'm going to work on just kind of reconfiguring it a little bit. I'm going to decide if I want to keep my arches there or if I want to put them somewhere else. And then I had some fence pieces here where these posts are. I think I'm going to change that around a little bit. So like I said, we've been working on this little pile of wood chips here. We've really whittled it down a lot. Those will break down over the winter and over the summer into the soil, feeding it and making it better. And we also put those wood chips in with our chickens, and then we will compost them and put them back in here as well. So that just helps add a lot of nutrition and fertilizer to it. And I'm excited to watch the garden over the next few years. It should hopefully just get better and better.